One legendary undersea city was said to be so advanced its people could control the weather and communicate with dolphins. Another submerged kingdom supposedly vanished in a single catastrophic night because its gatekeeper got too drunk during a massive party. And can you believe tales speak of a mysterious island civilization beneath the waves whose inhabitants, shadowy sorcerers, regularly abducted surface dwellers to be their spouses, sometimes trading them for gold? Number 12. The Nereids Shimmering Underwater Court. The ancient Greeks told stories of 50 sea goddesses, the Nereids, who dwelled in a magnificent silvery grotto deep beneath the Aegean Sea. Imagine a palace made of pearls and coral, lit by the ocean's own ethereal glow, where these divine sisters danced and sang. These weren't just pretty faces. They were the daughters of Nereus, the wise old man of the sea, known for his truthfulness and shape-shifting abilities, and Doris, an Oceanid, a Titan's daughter. Each of the 50 Nereids had her own special charm and represented various facets of the sea's beauty and bounty, from the sparkling foam of the waves to the calm fish-filled depths. Think of them as the ocean's powerful guardians, embodying its kinder aspects. They were often depicted riding dolphins, hippocampi, seahorses, or other magnificent sea creatures, their laughter supposedly echoing with the sound of the waves. Sailors would often pray to them for safe passage and calm seas, and legends tell of Nereids guiding lost ships through treacherous waters and rescuing sailors tossed overboard by storms. They were seen as protectors of fishermen and all who made their living from the sea. The famous Argonauts, on their quest for the Golden Fleece, were said to have been helped by the Nereids through dangerous straits. Among the most celebrated was Thetis. She was so breathtakingly beautiful that both Zeus, king of the gods, and Poseidon, god of the sea, desired her. However, a prophecy foretold that her son would become far greater than his father. Wisely, the gods stepped aside, and Thetis was married to a mortal king, Peleus. Their son was none other than Achilles, the mightiest hero of the Trojan War, making a Nereid the mother of one of ancient history's most legendary warriors. Her grief when Achilles died was said to have stirred the very seas. Another incredibly important Nereid was Amphitrite. She was so majestic and beautiful that Poseidon pursued her relentlessly until she agreed to become his queen. Together they ruled the vast oceans from a dazzling golden palace, and Amphitrite often rode beside him in a chariot pulled by incredible sea creatures. Other Nereids like Galatea, known for her milky white beauty and pursued by the Cyclops Polyphemus or Samatha, associated with sand, each held their own stories. While they didn't build sprawling stone cities like some other legendary undersea civilizations, the Nereids formed a powerful divine community. Their authority wasn't in armies or advanced technology, but in their intrinsic connection to the very essence of the sea, its immense power, its moods, its beauty, and its capacity to both nurture and protect. They were the radiant, benevolent power within the deep blue. Number 11. Finfolk, hideaways, Orkney, Shetland. The island sorcerers who stole spouses from the surface. Way up north, in the wind-swept Orkney and Shetland Islands of Scotland, old tales whisper of the Finfolk. These weren't your friendly neighborhood merfolk. The Finfolk were powerful, often gloomy, amphibious sorcerers who were masters of the sea and masters of disguise. They were said to be able to shift, and their moods could be as dark and stormy as the northern seas they inhabited. Imagine a whole civilization of magical beings living just off the coast with powers beyond mortal understanding. The Finmen were described as having brooding, sorrowful faces, but they were incredible swimmers, sometimes said to have fins. They could propel their small boats with astonishing speed, using silver oars or even just their powerful bodies. Their main underwater home was Finfolk, a breathtakingly beautiful city of crystal halls and mother-of-pearl domes hidden deep beneath the waves. But they also had a summer paradise, an enchanted island called Hildaland, which means hidden land. This island could appear and disappear at will, often shimmering just out of reach of human sailors. It was said to be a place of eternal summer, with lush fields and abundant crops, a stark contrast to the often harsh conditions of the surface islands. What made the Finfolk particularly feared and respected was their habit of abducting humans. They often sought mortals as spouses, carrying them off to their underwater or hidden island homes. Finwives were said to be incredibly beautiful, often with long dark hair. But if they married a human and lived on land, they often grew melancholic, forever yearning for their watery home. Sometimes, instead of outright abduction, the Finfolk would trade. They were known to possess great wealth, particularly silver, and might offer it to a family in exchange for a son or daughter. Their power lay in their potent magic, their command over the local seas, their ability to vanish and reappear, and their mysterious, luxurious, and often dangerous undersea and hidden island strongholds. They were a constant reminder to islanders that the sea held powers both beautiful and terrifying. Number 10. Merfolk Kingdom of the Merrow. Irish. Ireland's soul-catching sea people with magical red caps. Off the verdant coasts of Ireland, legends swim of the Merrow, a type of merfolk with a very distinct kind of power. The female Merrow were said to be stunningly beautiful, with long flowing hair and fishtails, the classic image of a mermaid. They were often gentle and benevolent, and tales abound of them falling in love with human fishermen and even coming ashore to marry them. There was a catch, a magical item that bound them to their watery realm, the Cohuilín Druith. This was a special small red cap, often adorned with feathers, which allowed the Merrow to live and breathe beneath the waves. If a Merrow lost her Cohuilín Druith, or if a human managed to steal and hide it, she could not return to the sea. Many stories tell of fishermen finding these caps and keeping them, compelling the Merrow to become their wives. These unions sometimes produced children who might have slight physical peculiarities, like scaly skin or webbed fingers and toes, hinting at their mixed heritage. However, the Merrow wife would always long for the sea, and if she ever found her hidden cap, she would inevitably abandon her land family and return to her underwater kingdom, her love for the ocean being too strong to resist. The male Merrow, on the other hand, were quite different. They were often described as incredibly ugly, with green skin, sharp green teeth, pig-like eyes, and long red noses. They were also sometimes seen as more grasping and less friendly than their female counterparts. The underwater kingdom of the Merrow was believed to be a place of great riches, filled with gold and treasures from shipwrecks, and also a place of enchanting music. The Merrow were known for their alluring songs, which could sometimes lure sailors to their doom, but other times they were said to warn of impending storms or even grant wishes to those who treated them kindly. Their power was in their magic, their connection to the sea's depths, their alluring beauty, at least for the females, and the potent enchantment of their Cohuilín Druith, the key to their very existence between two worlds. And number 9. Pātāla, Naga realms, Hindu. The jewel-studded underworld ruled by serpent kings. Deep within Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain traditions lies the realm of Pātāla, the lowest of 7 netherworlds. But don't let netherworld fool you. Pātāla was often described as being more beautiful and opulent than Svarga, the heavenly realm of the gods. Imagine a vast subterranean kingdom, illuminated not by the sun, moon, or fire, but by the brilliant light emanating from countless jewels embedded in the hoods of the Nagas, its serpent-like inhabitants. This was a place of unimaginable splendor, with magnificent palaces, lush gardens, and sparkling lakes and rivers, all located deep beneath the Earth's surface, often accessible through mystical watery passages. Pātāla was the domain of the Nagas, a race of divine or semi-divine beings with bodies that were part human and part serpent. They were depicted as incredibly powerful, wise, and often very wealthy, being guardians of immense subterranean treasures and precious gems. Famous Naga kings like Vasuki, Takshaka, and Ananta Shesha ruled over different regions of Pātāla. Ananta Shesha in particular is a figure of immense cosmic importance, said to be a thousand-headed serpent who supports the entire universe upon his hoods and sings praises of the god Vishnu. The Nagas were not inherently good or evil. Their nature varied. Some were benevolent, acting as protectors of springs, wells, and rivers, and were associated with rain, fertility, and prosperity. They could bless humans or even intermarry with them. The epic Mahabharata tells of the hero Arjuna marrying the Naga princess, Ulupi. However, other Nagas could be wrathful and dangerous, their bite venomous, and their anger capable of causing droughts or floods. Their power was immense. They possessed magical abilities, including shape-shifting and invisibility, controlled potent venoms and elixirs of life, commanded vast armies, and held ancient wisdom. Pātāla was a testament to their might, a glittering, jewel-encrusted civilization hidden from human eyes, a powerful undercurrent in the spiritual landscape of ancient India, pulsating with magic and mystery. Number 8. Ryūgū-jō, Dragon Palace, Japanese. The Dragon King's coral castle where time stood still. In Japanese folklore, deep beneath the shimmering sea lies Ryūgū-jō, the magnificent palace of Ryūjin, the Dragon King and powerful kami god of the ocean. This isn't just any castle. It was said to be constructed from solid red and white coral, or sometimes gold and crystal, with grand gates, sweeping roofs, and fantastical gardens teeming with magical sea life. Each of its four sides was said to represent a different season, so one part might be in perpetual spring, while another experienced the height of summer. The Dragon King himself was a formidable figure, ruling over all creatures of the sea, from the smallest fish to the largest whales, and he commanded an army of sea turtles, jellyfish, and other marine beings. Perhaps the most famous story associated with Ryūgū-jō is that of Urashima Taro, a kind young fisherman. One day, Urashima rescued a small turtle from being tormented by children. This turtle turned out to be no ordinary reptile, but Otohime, the beautiful daughter of the Dragon King. As a reward for his kindness, Otohime invited Urashima to visit Ryūgū-jō. He was carried there on the back of a larger turtle and was welcomed into a world of unbelievable luxury and endless entertainment. He feasted on magical foods, was waited on by enchanting attendants, and forgot all his worldly cares. He stayed for what he thought was only 3 delightful days. However, time in Ryūgū-jō flowed very differently from time on the surface. When Urashima finally decided he must return to his village and see his aging mother, Otohime sadly gave him a parting gift, a beautiful lacquered box called a tamatebako. She warned him never, ever to open it. Upon returning to his home, Urashima found that 300 years had passed. His village was changed, his family long gone, and no one remembered him. In despair and confusion, forgetting Otohime's warning, he opened the tamatebako. A puff of white smoke emerged, and Urashima instantly aged, his hair turning white, his body wrinkling and withering, as the centuries he had missed caught up with him. The power of Ryūgū-jō was immense. It controlled the tides through magical jewels, kanju and manju, held sway over storms and sea creatures, possessed untold riches, and, most mystically, it existed in a realm where time itself bent to its will. Number 7. Kitezh, Russian. The invisible city beneath the lake, saved by a miracle. Often called the Russian Atlantis, the legendary city of Kitezh holds a special place in Russian folklore. A tale of piety, mystery, and miraculous salvation. According to the stories, Kitezh was a beautiful and holy city, founded by the Grand Prince Georgy Vsevolodovich of Vladimir. It was situated in a picturesque location near Lake Svetloy, in what is now central Russia. Imagine a city of stunning white stone churches with gleaming golden domes, filled with devout citizens whose lives were dedicated to prayer and good deeds. It was seen as a spiritual beacon, a place of almost heavenly purity on earth. Its legend truly takes flight with the arrival of the Mongol hordes led by Batu Khan in the 13th century. As the invaders approached, intent on plundering and destroying Kitezh, as they had other Russian cities, the people of Kitezh did not take up arms. Instead, they gathered in their churches and prayed fervently for divine intervention, for a miracle to save their sacred city from desecration. And a miracle is exactly what they received. As Batu Khan's forces watched, the entire city of Kitezh, with all its inhabitants, began to slowly and silently sink beneath the waters of Lake Svetloy. Some versions of the legend say the ground opened up and swallowed it, while others claim a thick fog descended, and when it lifted, the city was simply gone, hidden from the attackers. The Mongols were left bewildered, unable to find any trace of the city they had come to conquer. Kitezh was not truly destroyed. It was said to have become invisible, preserved perfectly beneath the tranquil waters of the lake. Legend has it that only those who are pure of heart and strong in faith can see the reflection of Kitezh's churches in the lake, or hear the faint ethereal sound of its bells chiming from the depths, especially on quiet nights or holy days. Some believers even say that Kitezh will rise again in all its glory at the end of the world. The power of Kitezh wasn't in armies or wealth, but in its profound spiritual strength, its unwavering faith that was potent enough to invoke divine protection and grant it a unique form of immortality, hidden and waiting. Number 6. Cantre'r Gwaelod, Welsh. The Welsh kingdom swallowed by waves, thanks to a drunken prince. Along the coast of Wales, in the area now known as Cardigan Bay, lies the legendary lost land of Cantre'r Gwaelod, sometimes called the Welsh Atlantis. This wasn't just a small village, it was a vast and fertile kingdom, a lowland hundred said to stretch for miles out into what is now sea. It was renowned for its rich soil supporting 16 fortified towns and cities, making it one of the most prosperous regions in ancient Wales. This entire kingdom, however, depended on a crucial piece of infrastructure, a series of dikes and sluice gates that held back the powerful tides of the Irish Sea. The well-being of everyone in Cantre'r Gwaelod rested on these defenses being properly maintained. The responsibility for these vital sea defenses fell to a watchman often named as Seithanin. Now Seithanin was a prince, one of the chieftains under the rule of King Gwyddno Garanhir, but he was more famous for his love of feasting, drinking, and carousing than for his dedication to duty. The legend tells of a night of a great storm and an even greater feast. While the wind howled and the waves crashed against the dikes, Seithanin was deep in his cups, completely neglecting his responsibilities at the sluice gates. In his drunken state, the gates were left open or were breached. The relentless sea poured in, swamping the low-lying land with terrifying speed. The entire kingdom of Cantre'r Gwaelod, with all its towns and fields, was swallowed by the waves, its people drowned, its vibrant civilization vanishing beneath the waters in a single catastrophic night. King Gwyddno, Garanhir, and a few others supposedly escaped, but their rich domain was lost forever. Even today, people claim that on quiet nights or when storms churn the bay, you can still hear the ghostly ringing of Cantragwaelod's church bells from beneath the waves, a mournful reminder of the kingdom lost to negligence and the sea's might. Power of Cantragwaelod was once in its prosperity, but its story serves as a potent reminder of how human folly can bring even the mightiest of lands to ruin. Number 5. Lyonesse, Arthurian, King Arthur's lost land of beautiful churches and sunken bells. Woven into the rich tapestry of Arthurian legend and Cornish folklore is the romantic and tragic tale of Lyonesse, a beautiful kingdom said to have once existed between the westernmost tip of Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. This wasn't just any piece of land, it was a significant territory, often associated with heroic figures from King Arthur's court. Most notably, Lyonesse was the homeland of Sir Tristan, one of the most famous knights of the Round Table, known for his ill-fated love for Queen Isolde. His father, King Meliodas, was said to be the ruler of this fair and prosperous realm. Lyonesse was described as an exceptionally fertile and pleasant land, dotted with many towns and, according to some accounts, as many as 140 churches, each with its own bells. Imagine a picturesque landscape bustling with life, part of the vibrant world of Camelot and its chivalrous knights. However, this idyllic kingdom was doomed. In a sudden and catastrophic event, very much like Atlantis, Lyonesse was said to have been overcome by the sea, sinking beneath the waves in a single terrifying night. The reasons for this inundation vary in different tellings, sometimes attributed to divine wrath or powerful magic, but the result was the same. A flourishing civilization vanished. Only one man, named Trevelyan, or Trevelyan, is said to have escaped the deluge. He managed to flee the rising waters by riding his swift white horse to higher ground in Cornwall, just as the sea consumed his homeland. Trevelyan family of Cornwall to this day uses a crest depicting a white horse rising from the waves, said to commemorate this miraculous escape. For centuries, fishermen in the waters around the Isles of Scilly have claimed to occasionally haul up stones from submerged buildings in their nets, or even to hear the faint, ghostly ringing of Lyonessa's many church bells tolling from beneath the sea, especially during storms. Power of Lyonesse lies not just in its legendary beauty and prosperity, but in its poignant connection to the golden age of Arthurian romance, a lost jewel of a kingdom forever mourned. Number 4. Yes, Breton. The decadent floating city, destroyed by a daemon lover and a golden key. From the rugged coastline of Brittany in France comes the dramatic and cautionary legend of Yes, a city of incredible beauty and even more incredible decadence. Wise was said to have been built by the pious King Gradlin for his beloved but wayward daughter, Dahut, sometimes called Aes. In some versions, Weiss was constructed on land reclaimed from the sea, protected by massive dikes and a single great gate to which only Gradlin held the key. In others, it was a fantastical floating city. Dahut, a powerful sorceress and a priestess of ancient pagan gods, transformed Yes into a haven of luxury, wealth, and unrestrained pleasure. Became famous throughout the land for its opulence. However, Dahut's influence also led Aes down a path of corruption and sin. She was known for her captivating beauty and her insatiable desires, taking a new lover each night and, according to the darkest tales, having them thrown into the sea from a high cliff the following morning, wearing a black suffocating mask. The city mirrored its princess, becoming a place where morality was forgotten, and every indulgence was pursued. King Gradlon, despite his Christian piety, was often powerless to curb his daughter's excesses. The key to the city's main sea gate, usually made of silver or gold, was worn by Gradlin around his neck, symbolizing his ultimate control over its safety. One fateful night, a charming stranger often described as a knight in red armor, or even the devil in disguise, seduced Dahat. He played upon her vanity and her disdain for her father's caution, persuading her to steal the precious key to the sea gate while Gradlin slept. In a fit of passion or defiance, Dahat, or her demonic lover, unlocked the gate during a fierce storm. The raging sea burst through, and the city began to flood rapidly. King Gradlin was awakened by Saint Gwenole, who urged him to flee on his magical horse, Morvarsh. Dahat tried to escape with him, but Saint Gwenole commanded Gradlin to cast her off, crying that she was the demon weighing them down. Gradlin reluctantly obeyed, and Dahat was swept away by the waves, transformed into a Morgan, a type of mermaid or sea siren, forever haunting the Bay of Douarnenez, where Ys is said to lie submerged. Power of Ice was in its magical construction and immense wealth, but its story is a stark warning about how pride and hedonism can lead to utter destruction. Fishermen still sometimes claim to hear the bells of Ys ringing from the deep. Number 3. Lemuria, Theosophical, the lost continent of psychic giants in the Pacific. The idea of Lemuria began not as a mystical legend, but as a 19th century scientific hypothesis. Zoologist Philip Sclater proposed a lost land bridge in the Indian Ocean, which he named Lemuria, to explain the strange distribution of lemur fossils found in Madagascar, Africa, and India, but not in between. However, this scientific notion was soon adopted and dramatically expanded by occultists and esoteric writers, most notably Helena Blavatsky, the co-founder of the Theosophical Society, in the late 1800s. In her writings, Lemuria transformed into a vast ancient continent that existed long before Atlantis, primarily located in the Pacific or Indian Ocean. According to these esoteric traditions, Lemuria was inhabited by the third root race of humanity. These Lemurians were described as physically very different from modern humans. They were often depicted as gigantic in stature, sometimes towering up to 18 feet tall. Early Lemurians were said to be hermaphroditic, reproducing by laying eggs and possessing a unique physiological feature, a third eye located at the back of their heads. This third eye was not for ordinary sight, but was the organ of psychic perception and spiritual vision. Initially, these beings were described as intellectually undeveloped, but psychically sensitive, living in a dream-like state of consciousness. As their civilization evolved over immense spans of time, the Lemurians developed profound psychic abilities and a deep, intuitive spiritual understanding. Their society was not characterized by advanced material technology in the way we think of it. Instead, their power lay in their innate connection to nature, their mastery of psychic energies, and their communal, spiritually oriented way of life. They were said to live in harmony with the earth and its creatures. Eventually, after ages of existence, the continent of Lemuria was said to have met a cataclysmic end. It slowly sank beneath the ocean waves due to massive volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, or possibly a shift in the Earth's axis. The survivors of this destruction, according to these teachings, migrated to other parts of the world and became the ancestors of various indigenous peoples, carrying with them remnants of ancient Lemurian wisdom. Lemuria, in this mystical context, represents a lost golden age of spiritual giants and psychic power. Number 2. Mu, James Churchward, the motherland of man, an ancient Pacific empire of advanced science. The legend of Mu, a vast and highly advanced lost continent in the Pacific Ocean, was largely popularized in the early 20th century by the British-American writer James Churchward. Churchward claimed he had deciphered ancient sacred tablets called the Knuckle tablets, which he purportedly discovered in India with the help of a high temple priest. These tablets, he asserted, told the detailed history of Mo, the motherland of man, an immense landmass that stretched from somewhere north of Hawaii, south to Fiji and Easter Island. This was the cradle of all human civilization, existing an astonishing 50,000 to 200,000 years ago. According to Churchward, Mu was home to an incredibly advanced civilization of some 64 million inhabitants, known as the Nereids. They were a highly evolved people, living in peace and harmony under the rule of a priest-king named Ra-Mu. Their society was organized into 10 tribes, all united under one government and one religion, which involved the worship of a single deity symbolized by the sun. The Nereids were not just spiritually enlightened, they possessed scientific knowledge far surpassing our own. They understood the fundamental forces of the universe, including anti-gravity, and had mastered psychic abilities like telepathy and astral travel. Their cities were built with incredible architectural skill, featuring massive stone structures, paved roads and canals. Mu was said to be a global empire, establishing colonies across the world, including, according to Churchward, Atlantis itself. Its influence was the bedrock of all subsequent ancient civilizations, from Egypt to Maya. The power of Mu was staggering. It was a global superpower built on unparalleled scientific understanding, profound spiritual enlightenment, and a peaceful, unified culture. However, this magnificent civilization was not destined to last forever. About 12,000 years ago, Mu was utterly destroyed in a series of cataclysmic volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and the collapse of giant subterranean gas chambers, causing the entire continent to sink beneath the waves of the Pacific Ocean in a fiery apocalypse. Churchward's Mu, with its tales of high science and a global mother culture, presents a potent vision of a lost utopia, a powerful testament to humanity's supposed forgotten glory. Number 1. Atlantis, Plato. The OG superpower island that vanished in a single day and night. The most famous lost civilization of them all, Atlantis, bursts into history from the dialogues of the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, specifically in his works Timaeus and Critias, written around 360 BC. Plato presents the story as a genuine historical account, passed down through generations from the wise Athenian statesman Solon, who himself heard it from learned Egyptian priests. According to these priests, Atlantis was a formidable island nation located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar, placing it out in the Atlantic Ocean. This wasn't just a small island, it was described as being larger than ancient Libya, North Africa, and Asia Minor, modern Turkey, combined, a true supercontinent. Atlantis was founded by Poseidon, the Greek god of the sea. He fell in love with a mortal woman named Clito, who lived on the island. Poseidon built a sanctuary for her on a hill, surrounded by concentric rings of land and water, creating a unique and defensible capital city. Clito bore him 5 pairs of twin sons, and these 10 sons became the first 10 kings of Atlantis, with Atlas the eldest being the supreme ruler and the entire island and ocean named after him. The island was blessed with incredible natural resources, fertile soil, abundant forests, diverse wildlife including elephants, and most famously, a mysterious glittering metal called orichalcum, which was considered second only to gold in value and was mined extensively. The Atlanteans were an advanced civilization. Their capital city was a marvel of engineering, with intricate canal systems connecting the rings of land and sea. Grand temples plated with precious metals. The temple to Poseidon and Clito was covered in silver with gold pinnacles, and the interior featured a massive gold statue of Poseidon in a chariot pulled by winged horses. They had warm and cold public baths, sophisticated irrigation, a powerful military equipped with chariots, and a vast navy of 1,200 ships, and they ruled over a sprawling empire that extended into parts of Europe and Africa. For many generations, the Atlanteans were virtuous, wise, and lived by noble laws. However, as time went on, their divine nature became diluted with mortal admixture. Greed, ambition, and hubris corrupted them. They became arrogant and warlike, launching an unprovoked campaign of conquest against Athens and other Mediterranean peoples. According to Plato's account, ancient Athens, embodying ideal virtues, managed to defeat the mighty Atlantean forces. Shortly after this military defeat, the gods, displeased with Atlantean impiety and aggression, unleashed a terrible punishment. In a single day and night of misfortune, violent earthquakes and catastrophic floods struck the island, and Atlantis, with all its power and glory, sank beneath the waves, vanishing without a trace about 9,000 years before Solon's time. The power of Atlantis was legendary in its technology, its military, its wealth, and its divine heritage, making its sudden disappearance the ultimate story of a lost superpower.